Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Mamas in Miami, where together we're navigating parenthood with fierce love and unwavering solidarity of each other. On today's program, I'm inviting a really good friend of mine. Her name is Liz Guerra, and she's going to be sharing with us her story and her personal journey, her health journey to get to where she is today. I see that she just joined our room, so I'm going to invite her immediately to get started. We've got a lot of ground to cover.
Hi.
Good morning. Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm apologizing in advance for the extra noise in my room today.
Okay.
Apart from popcorn, it's grooming day for the dogs, and I get my brother's dog also, and you could hear her. She's super jealous that popcorn's sitting with you and me in conversation and not her. So I'm apologizing in advance. How are you today?
I'm good.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Of course.
So let's get right started. We've got so much to discuss. And why don't you start by introducing yourself?
Okay. My name is Liz Guerra, and I'm married for 13 years now. I have two babies. Well, they're not babies anymore, but I have my son. My oldest son is Alexander. He's 9, and my little one is Christian, and he's 6. Yeah.
So Liz and I are friends by the 3 degrees of separation or less, that is Miami. We became instant friends at a Friendsgiving where we ended up randomly sitting next to each other, and we've been inseparable ever since.
Yes.
So Liz and I started out in the same parochial school, and then COVID happened, and we both ended up going separate ways to different schools, but we maintained our friendship. Why don't you start by letting everybody know why it was that you made a decision to close out your circle, even smaller than what it already became during COVID?
Okay. So during COVID, I was working. So by trade, I'm a clinical social worker psychotherapist. And during COVID, I was working at the University of Miami. I spent 10 years there working in that position. And I worked in hematology oncology. So I was with a lot of very sick patients and in the hospital. So I wanted to be as safe as possible. I knew how scary and how dangerous it was at the school that we were at. It was a very large school. I have a congenital heart defect. I was categorized as high risk, and so were both of my boys. They are both chronic asthmatics and multiple, other medical complications that they have, or as I like to call it, medical complexities. So I just wanted a smaller, safer community, and it just made sense as I was working at Jackson super far. My sister was at another school, so it was a smaller school, so I went and I switched schools for my kids. Just made sense.
Yes, absolutely. And so you guys navigated that beautifully, and you had a pre-existing condition. Can you talk more about that, please?
Yeah. So I was born with a congenital heart defect called a PFO, which is a patent foraminal valley, ASD, which is atrial septal defect. And that defect causes me to have strokes. So in the course of 9 years, I've had 5 strokes because of my heart. So it's a very serious thing.
Yeah. When was your first one? Did you already have one of your kiddos?
No, my first stroke. So I was born with a congenital heart defect, right? I was born with my PFO, but I had no idea I had it till I was 26 years old. I lived a full life, completely normal, no complications at all, until I was 26. My poor husband, I love him very much, but we had just gotten married. I was finishing grad school, and I had my first stroke at 26.
Can you explain what that was like for you?
You're young. You have no idea what's happening. We have a funny story because he took me to go buy my graduation gift, and I was at the mall, and I went to select a purse, and I was buying my bag, and the lady at the counter was asking, "Oh, what are you getting your degree in?" And I just looked at her, and I'm like, and I knew I wanted to say words, and I knew the words I had to say, but they just didn't come out. And I got stuck, and I was like, that's weird. And she looked at me, she's like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not okay." And instantly I knew something was wrong. I sat down, I drank some water, and my husband, I was with him, and he's like, maybe, we thought it was my blood sugar. Maybe I have to eat. I don't know. We fix everything. I don't know if it's a Cuban thing or just me and Gabby thing. We're like, oh, you don't feel good, you have to drink water and you have to eat. I don't know why. That's just how we fix things. So yeah, we went to eat, and then while I was sitting eating across from my husband, we had no babies yet, I started feeling really weird, and I tried to cut my food, and all of a sudden, like, my hand fell asleep, and like my whole right arm was dead, and the fork dropped out of my hands. And I look up at him, and he looks at me, he's kind of like in shock, and he's like, what's going on? My face then sloped like that, like it was just like a complete droop. So I was having a stroke, and we still had no idea what was going on. So after that happened, we didn't even call 911. We were 26. We were in our 20s. I had no idea. The last thing I thought, I was having a stroke. So I was like, I don't feel good. I feel weird. And we left and we went home. And then I went to sleep, which is a big no-no. If anybody ever has any of those symptoms, go to the hospital. Call 911 immediately. Now I know better. I went to sleep, and I woke up the next day, and I texted my cousin, which is my primary care physician. And I said, something really weird happened to me yesterday. And my full name is Annalise, and my whole family calls me Annalisi. And she wrote back to me. She's like, she called me immediately. And she said, Annalisi, run to the hospital. You had a stroke. And I said, what? And yeah. And that's how, then after that, like, everything was different. And I was hospitalized from that, like, for 5 days after that. And then that's how they found out that I had my heart defect. That's how it was found.
When you found out you had your heart defect and you found out you had a stroke, you were saying that you still hadn't started your family. How did that come into play when you began your pregnancy journey and bringing your kids into the world? Was it scary for you? Is it genetic? Is it something that you worried about passing on? How can you explain that?
Yeah. So there was a lot of factors I've always wanted to be a mother. Ever since I was little, I knew God put me on this earth to be a mom, to have babies. I knew my life was going to be complete when I had my children. So I really wanted to be a mom. They told me that I wasn't going to be able to have kids because of my heart, because it was too high risk. That is tough for me. We had my original OB told me, you're not going to be able to have kids. You have to adopt. And it's too high risk. You're going to die during pregnancy or during childbirth. And then we found another OB that told us, hey, calm down. You're very young. There's medications that can help you through it. So I had 2 pregnancies. We got pregnant, thank God. And I was just under, I guess, a lot of medical care, but I had my kids. But it was hard to decide to have them because I knew it was going to be a risk, but it was a risk I was willing to take to have my children. And then, yeah, it is genetic. So that's the tough part. It's a 50-50 chance. We don't know if the boys were going to get it or not. But unfortunately, with our boys, they were born with my same congenital heart defect. But thankfully, theirs closed. Mine never did. So that was,
So that brings us to, you had numerous strokes before the one that I actively walked that journey with you.
Yeah.
And one of the things that just Liz is a superstar. I say she's got her resident BA degree in is how calm, cool, and collected she is in these extreme circumstances. And it's one of the reasons why I asked her to be on today's edition of Mamas in Miami. She's like, well, what's so special about me? I'm like, what's so special about you? The way you managed your family household during this medical emergency blew my mind. I don't know if I would have been as calm, cool, and collected explaining it to your children like you did. And that's why I wanted you to speak to everybody today, because I was so impressed with how you addressed that situation. So kind of walk us through, your heart had a hole in it and didn't close, just very easily put, correct?
Yes, that was my original defect.
And at what point did you say, it's time to have surgery? I need this to heal.
Okay. So in 2014, with my first stroke, after they figured out, they had to do, I guess, a process of elimination. They thought I had MS. They were like, this is not normal for a healthy 26-year-old woman to have a stroke. Like, it's not normal. So they found my heart condition, and then immediately I had heart surgery. That surgery in 2014 was unsuccessful. That was terrible to go through that. It was unsuccessful, and they're like, we have to do it again. And this time we're going to have to crack your chest open. And I'm 26 years old. I just got married. Had been married for a year, and I was just so afraid. We have a really incredible medical team around me. I have a strokeologist, which is a specialist in strokes. I have a neurologist. I have my cardiologist, my PCP. I mean, I created my little village for comprehensive medical care, because I'm not just one person, and also throwing my OBs in there too. I had my first stroke. I had my first surgery. I always knew I was going to have a second surgery. Now, they said, you don't have to do it right now in 2014. I could have done it at that moment, but I just wasn't mentally prepared. I was about to finish my graduate degree. I wanted to see if there was other remedies, you know what I mean, rather than going and cracking my entire chest open, right, for open heart surgery. With the guidance of my medical team, I was on medications, blood thinners for several years, and always constantly being checked. Every 6 months, I was going to the doctor and having brain scans, and I just got very in tune with my body. I don't even know. Okay, so I had my first surgery. I knew I was going to have a second one. Within the course of from 2014 to now, 2024, but then when I had my last surgery, my second surgery was in 2022. Within that span, I had 5 strokes. So my first stroke, 2014, somewhere in the middle of there, a few years later, I had 2 mini strokes. Always with that conversation, oh, you had a mini stroke. It was tiny. They were tiny, but they were neurological episodes. And they would always say, you're going to have to close it. You're going to have to close it. But we're still managing with the medications I was on. And then when I gave birth to my second child, Christian, I had a pretty major stroke right after I gave birth to him. So that was very scary. And again,
are you still in the hospital postpartum?
Oh, yeah. After I gave birth, I had to stay there for I don't even know how many days, because I became now a stroke victim. Like, you know what I mean? So it was a little bizarre. Yeah. All my medical things are a little not complicated, but
nothing with you is easy, is it?
And then, so I had a major stroke, another one in 2022. And my neurologist and my cardiologist, like, they grabbed me and they're like, you need to close your heart. You need to have another heart surgery, because if you don't do this, it's not when. It's not if it's going to happen, it's when the next one is going to happen. And my last stroke of 2022 was about triple the size of my previous strokes. So every time you have a stroke, there's a little pintica in your head, like a little white matter, like it's a piece of, I guess, brain damage. That's exactly, essentially what it is. So
they shook you up and they said it's now or never.
Yeah, it's not, it wasn't it's not if it's when. And then the when would be when it happens, it's going to be 10 times bigger than it was this time. You're either going to end up in a wheelchair for the rest of your life, or it's going to kill you. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to do this because I have children and I can't die.
Exactly. So how did you prepare yourself emotionally and mentally, knowing that you were going into this massive procedure?
Oh, I emotionally and mentally. Okay. So like I said, I am a therapist. I do have a lot of training in psychology, and I'm specialized in crisis intervention. So I kind of kicked myself in gear and practiced what I preached, and I knew that this was a choice that I made, and it took me a very long time to make it, but it was my choice with my healthcare professionals. I knew I had to delegate things and that it was going to be okay. I had to have like the utmost faith, in God, and that I was going to wake up and just do it.
Now talk to us about the night before, which every time I say my best friend Liz, like the way she prepared her children for this surgery blows my mind, because I don't know if I would have been stable enough to do it emotionally. I know it's probably hard for you to remember that evening.
Yeah.
But can you share with everybody how you approached the kids and what you told them and the night before your surgery?
Okay. So the night before my surgery, because I have a career in counseling and therapy, and I was working with children they're very sick, life-threatening illnesses, I was prepared. and I know that people pass away. And what I didn't want to do is lie to my kids. So I had a very intense conversation with my children, but very honest one. Obviously, age appropriate, because at that time, Christian was 4 and Alex was 7. So they were little, but I needed them to know that mommy was going to have heart surgery, and that if anything happened to me, that if for any reason I wouldn't wake up, it was because God wanted me, or God needed me in heaven. And regardless, that I would have a conversation with God and ask him, if you didn't need me, then can I please come back? I was like, so, but I needed them to know. I didn't want me to just disappear one morning, or, and go have my heart surgery, and then very real possibility of me never coming back, like their mom never coming back, and trying to understand that at 4 years old or 6 years old, it's tough.
What were their immediate responses?
My little babies. We cried. There was a lot of crying, but I'm very honest with my kids. We cried, but I told them, I said, I will fight to come back. If I can't come back, I'm going to be in heaven. And what I'm going to do, and if I ever get to heaven, I don't come back, when I'm going to send you signs. I'm going to send you signals. And whenever you see cotton candy skies, which is like when the sky looks really pretty in all those colors, and butterflies, that's going to be me. And I'm going to send you those signs so you know throughout your life that I'm with you. I always made sure to tell them that. I just didn't want them to feel abandoned.
That's amazing, Liz. Every time you say that, Mary, because that's it's very much easier said than done.
I guess, I don't know. I didn't want them to think like, where did she go?
Yeah.
Or that I didn't want to come back, or that I just disappeared. I
wanted to believe that very much.
It was concrete. Like, this is what's happening, and it's very serious. And I love you more than anything on earth. And I will do whatever I need to do to be here for you. And if I can't come back, it's not because I didn't want to. It's because I couldn't. And I needed that to be crystal clear to my children.
So obviously, the good news is that your heart surgery wasn't.
Yeah, God's like, no thanks, girls, not your time.
How long were you out of commission for?
I was out of commission for quite a while. After you have a stroke, I wasn't able to drive for a while. Like, your brain is kind of not all there. You're very foggy. My memory was really, really bad. It wasn't safe for me to get around. My parents are incredible, and they really helped me out. My cousins, my sisters, my friends, everybody just kind of rallied around me. It was a while. I was out of commission for quite a while, and I'm still not okay. Like, I'm still not 100% okay, because after every single stroke that you have, you do get a little piece of white matter in your brain. Now I have 5 spots, and that's essentially dead parts of your brain, So I'm not 100%, and I will never be what I was before 2014, but I'm fine. I'm good.
Yes. We have lots of comments coming in saying you're the strongest mama, praying hands.
Thank you.
You're the best. We're so proud of you. I know I am. I was so happy that you had a new heart, fresh start.
Yeah. Amen. Thank
after
you.
Your procedure. Do your children know that this is a possibility for them? Are they aware of their heart condition?
They absolutely. I am education 1,000%. So my kids, since they were born with their congenital heart defects, they know they see a cardiologist. Thankfully, theirs did close. But if in the case we always go and check up on them. They're a little bit at higher risk when they're older. They might pass it on to their children. But yeah, we talk about it openly.
What have the biggest challenges and rewards been in returning to your normal day-to-day routines with your kids? Because you relied so heavily on everybody, your entire family unit, your system, your connection of friends.
Yeah.
What are you most thankful of today?
All the moments, every single second that I'm here on earth, I am grateful for. And I do not take that lightly. My life, our lives, everybody's life is to be celebrated. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, what would you share with a mom who's scared to go into surgery? The tears keep coming and they don't stop coming. Love you, Liz.
Oh, I love you. That's so sweet. That's Nettie. I just saw it. Oh, hi,
I could tell
what would I say?
you that that happened to me at my spine
Mhm.
surgery, right? I mentioned to you when you came to
Yeah.
visit me that right after I woke up, I looked at my mom. She goes, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I just need a minute." And I lost it crying. And I kept thinking, I kept begging God
Mhm.
to let me live another day. He could take away my legs. If my legs couldn't work anymore, because, you know, my back was irretrievably broken,
Mhm.
I'll live in a wheelchair, it's no problem, but I needed to come back to my
Right.
kids. So
Absolutely.
I know that
Yeah.
fear. I lived it not so long
Yeah.
ago. What would you tell a mom that's scared to go into surgery today?
That the fear is normal. It's healthy. Fear is what moves you. So if you're not scared going in, God bless you. That's great. Give me those meds. But you fight. You
But
fight. I remember waking up from my heart surgery. I don't even care that if it worked or not. I just was like, I'm awake. Okay, thank God I'm on earth. I'm good. You know, I came out of it. I woke up. It's terrifying. But if it needs to happen, it has to happen and you'll get through it.
so let's shift because I've been here bragging about how calm, cool, and collected you are in a crisis situation.
Here we go.
Here we go.
What are you going to
Our
say?
our family of friends, who a lot of
Mhm.
them are watching right now, knows very well that we reference what happened
Oh
to
my God.
Liz as Croqueta Gate. Why don't you walk us through what happened to you a couple months
Oh
ago and how you seamlessly ended up at the hospital and your husband was at home and you had your two little ones at home?
God.
Walk us through Croqueta Gate.
I love you, Christy. Okay, so a couple months ago, I married my husband, and I was very honest with him. I do not cook. I'm not very good at cooking. I can make an amazing sandwich. I can make pancakes, but I'm not good in the kitchen. But you know, I cook to survive, to feed my family when we have to. You know, when I have to. So that day, I was making picadillo when I was making dinner, and I was like, let me be healthy, and I started cutting my avocado.
Hold
And I
on,
cut my
where's your
avocado.
husband? Where's
My
your husband?
my husband is not here. He's very far away. He is, what is that? The Westgate River
Right.
Ranch. He was there for a philanthropy thing, for a shooting. No sé qué. There was a tournament for a foundation. I have no idea. He was being a good person. I love that guy. So I'm cutting my avocado, and my kids, I have the picadillo on the stove. My kids are watching TV, and I am paying attention because people are like, oh, were you not paying attention? No, I was paying attention, full attention. So I'm here, I have the avocado here in my hand, and I cut it, and I take out the seed like this with a knife, and the seed flies, and I cut off my finger.
I mean, completely.
Well, it was like this part was attached. This other part was like, bye. And I caught it. And the noise that came out of me was like, oh. And my son, Alexander's like, what happened? And I'm like, huh? And I caught my finger and I'm holding it. I'm like, get your iPad, get my phone, call 911. And he's like, what happened? I go, I hurt my finger. And yeah, I cut
Very
off my
calmly.
finger. Very calmly. We're calm. I was like, and I'm like, all right. And then I started losing a lot of blood. So I call 911 from my cell phone and I tell Alexander, I said, get your iPad and start calling. I have like on his iPad, I have all his saved contacts, like my husband, the grandparents, you know, the safe people, our nucleus. I said, call everybody that you can. Whoever answers first, tell them mommy's hurt and I need help. So to come to the house, because I knew that I was going to end up in the hospital because I cut off my finger and that's not normal. I was like, a Band-Aid can't fix this. So I was like, no, I'm going to end up in the hospital.
By the way, at this point, I never even thought to ask you, did Alexander, when he called all these family members, did they think you were having another stroke?
Maybe, possibly. I mean, it's just another day in paradise here. When 911 comes, they're like, oh, this lady is going to be un patatón, who knows? But, no, but Alex immediately.
I didn't even think to ask you that in that moment.
I mean, thank God it wasn't. So everybody, they're all my first responders. We have an amazing village. And yeah, he did great. Alex, and on my last stroke, Alex was with me too. Gabby was working and I was by myself with the kids. So Alex is I love that little boy. I love both of them, but Alex is my total first responder. when it comes to, saving my fingers and my life.
So hold on.
So he knows the drill.
Explain how calmly you told the police.
Oh, yeah.
Which I didn't know this, and this is a great thing to have in the back of your head if you're ever alone with your children and you do need supervision for the kids.
If you ever have an emergency, and I guess this is like my social work background and crisis intervention stuff. If you ever are alone with your kids at home and you have an emergency, like with yourself, the adult is not going to be okay. If you call 911 and that's the first thing that you say, like, hi, and that's exactly what I said. I go into solution focused, right? I never want to be part of the problem. I want to be part of the solution. That's always what I say. You call them and I told them, hi, how are you? I state my name, I'm Liz Guerra. I am by myself with my children and I had a really bad accident and I know I'm going to have to end up in the hospital. They send you a police officer. So
and I remember you telling them, like, I cut my finger, like, so the kids wouldn't hear it.
I know. I just told Alex when I originally did it, and they're like, oh, but what happened to you? And I'm like, oh, I was like trying to whisper because I didn't want to scare them. And I just told the boys that I cut my finger badly. But then with Gabby on the phone, I told Alex, take your brother to the playroom to just get them out of the room. And I told 911 and my husband at the same time, I said, this is bad. This is really bad. I'm pretty sure I just cut off my finger. And they're like, oh, okay. Everybody's kind of, but when he came back into the room, it was nice and calm.
Janice Suburbi just said, this is great to know. I'm not sure if I'd ever be that calm in a situation like this. It blows my mind how calm Liz is in these situations.
I don't know. It's just, I've seen so many crazy things that I'm just like, whatever. I don't know.
And how is your croqueta gate Frankenstein finger today?
Here, it's alive and well. She's a little crooked, but we still love her, This is the finger.
My friends, that finger was hanging by a literal skin thread.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
It was
pretty disgusting.
Pretty bad.
No.
I'm so glad I have a friend that I can count on that's calm, cool, and collected. Because
I don't know. Maybe I'm a little crazy. I don't know.
No. I think it's a great attribute to have as a mom, to be able to be calm and collected in these situations. It helps you get through the moment. How does Gabby feel about everything? Is he kind of not the calm one? Is he the loco, or is he,
is he the loco? Yeah, right. My husband and Gabriel, since the minute we started dating, people that know me from 2013, oh man, what am I talking about? We started dating in 2009. There we go. So I have called Gabby baby angel since the day I met him. I'm like, better human being than my husband does not exist on this earth. He is the most calmest, most zen person. He's amazing. How does he feel about all my emergencies? You gotta ask him. He's probably like, Lord have mercy, not another one. But he's very nice about it.
But he follows suit. He stays just as calm as you two, or does he spaz?
Yeah. And I think it's and I know I'm joking, but I really feel that he's been with me since my first stroke. We've gone through all of these stages of my health journey. It has prepared us, we know what to do, and we know that there's nothing, you don't gain anything from going frantic or being crazy. That just makes things worse. And I think we feed off of each other, and we're really good at that. And he's my calm, he calms me, and I'm like, okay, we got this. And we're just level-headed when it comes to emergency situations. We're very matter of fact.
That's so great. Have you added any 911 emergency numbers to your kids' iPads now that these things have happened twice?
No, I mean, ever since they were little though, I've always taught them, like, they're chiquitico, little, like 2 years old. Like, if there's ever an emergency, dial 911. Like, I've taught them how to do it. So they're the pros.
Well, you said Alexander is the one that has called for you twice. Would you trust Christian?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Christian is super calm and very intelligent. I'm sure
he would do it. It's just that Alex
is always next to me. I don't know. And also we've done it like to protect Christian since he's the baby.
Right.
I guess like with that stroke that I had at the house, my last stroke, Alex was so afraid and he really had to take care of me. He got his brother and took him to the playroom and just closed the door so he didn't have to see me. I don't even think Christian even saw the paramedics.
So I completely forgot that he was there with one of your strokes. How old was he when that happened?
Which one? Alex
Yeah,
or Christian? Christian was
Alex.
4. Alex was 7. I was so proud of him.
And
he opened the door to 911 because I wasn't able to.
Were you able to talk to him through the
No.
stroke?
What happens with your strokes, you get very in tune, at least for me, with your body. And you know the signs. You know when you're about to have a stroke. And I always have my cell phone on my hand, in my hands or on my body. And the minute I started feeling the signs of a stroke, I called Gabby immediately. And I told him, I'm having a stroke. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to say, but it's bad. And that's the last thing I was able to verbalize to Gabby. So I had Gabby on the cell phone on speaker the entire time. And then he, from his office, called 911 and said, my wife is alone with the kids, and she's having a stroke. So he stayed on the phone with me, and then he called 911.
And your son, Alex, were you able to verbalize anything to him after that?
But because of my thinking, Gabby was on the phone, and he was talking Alex through it and saying, Pablo, they're almost here. You're going to have to open up the door. He's never unlocked the door before. He was able to do it. 911 is coming. Stay next to mom. How is she doing? I couldn't speak.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
He deserves a little first responder medal for both times.
I know. Nothing bonds you like that.
Right?
So then when things happen in life, like, it's not a big deal. Like, you just kind of
Liz, what calm. Is the age of women who are predisposed to having strokes? Is there an age that we need to be more careful at for identifying it or knowing the signs? And
knowing the signs is completely different, and we could speak about that. Now, everybody's medical journey
is different.
Is different. If you're genetically disposed, I mean, it could happen whenever. I am assuming, because even babies have strokes, and that's why they close the defects early. So I don't know the answer to that, but the signs, absolutely. For me, it's always my speech goes first, or my eye. I go blind from one eye, and it usually gets one side of your body. So if I can't see out of this eye, then this is the hand that falls asleep. It's usually my right side for me. My triggers are always my right side, and then my speech. Sometimes with my major strokes, my bigger strokes, my mouth falls asleep, like my tongue or the roof of my mouth, and that's like a really dangerous sign, because that means it's already at your brainstem, is what I was explained to by my neurologist. Told me that. So
heaven forbid, I mean, considering your surgery was a success, it's safe to assume that this won't happen to you again, or is that an incorrect statement?
The goal is for it not to happen again. That's why my last surgery was successful. They were able to implant the device in my heart. I'll have it for the rest of my life. And yeah, it's not supposed to happen again. So fingers crossed it won't. But if it does, we know what to do. I know the signs, and just call 911 immediately. If anything feels off, you don't feel good, if I feel something weird, I just immediately consult with my medical team. One more thing before we close out that I just thought of, which, you know how when kids are little, that you used to say to scare them or to get them to stop, voy a llamar la policía. And they always say, don't ever do that, because the policía is your friend. Thank goodness your children, know that they are people that are safe, and we're able to open the door to them and stay perfectly calm and not be afraid. Are people still telling kids no le digas nada, no te portes bien porque viene la policía? Is that something that people still say out there? Because I'm sure, but I don't. Yeah. To us, if there's anything, the police are good. They're good guys. Absolutely. In my house, they're good guys. Well, in any house, they're good guys. Yeah. I remember that when we were little, like our generation, they used to say, "Vamos a llamar a la policía." I don't know if it ever happened to you, but I know in my house they might have said it once or twice. Yeah. The police. But usually it was my mom was amazing. She's a badass. So I think maybe I get a little bit. Well, of course. I mean, of my
Exactly.
badassness from her.
You're a piece of her.
And she used to tell me, "Don't be scared of anybody else but me." I was like, "Oh, I believe you, girl. I'm scared of you." And anybody who knows Alina Ascencio knows exactly what I'm talking about. And she's amazing. I love her.
Well, Liz, thank you so much for coming today and sharing your story with us and your journey with us and opening up and enlightening us on how do we stay calm in a situation and always ask the 911 responders to police and a police officer
If you're
along with
by yourself.
if you're by yourself. Absolutely. Liz, thank you. I'm so happy that it was a success and that you're going to be around for a really long time.
Really long time, so I could keep hanging out with you.
I love it. Thanks.
I love you. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.